partners of sleep talkers or sleepwalkers. What gems have you to share? My wife will tell me the next day when I do this. Her favorite story to tell is that she woke up in the middle of the night to find me slowly walking out of our bedroom. Wife, are you okay? What are you doing? Me, there's somebody downstairs in the kitchen, unrolling the tinfoil. Wife, okay. What's your plan? Me, I'm going to stop them. Wife, shall we get a bit more sleep then both go down together? Me, okay. And I went back to bed. Subsequent investigations found a small plastic bag on the floor near my head, being rustled by the movement of the curtain, the window being open. He farted very loudly and proceeded to say, "You got the wrong guy." My boyfriend woke me up the other day by gently putting his fingers in my mouth, and I kept moving my head out of the way until eventually I was like, "Can you stop that?" He then sounded genuinely upset and asked why I woke him up as he was having a really nice dream about feeding a deer. Brilliant. Not my current partner, but my ex-boyfriend sometimes talks in his sleep, and the funniest story was this one time I was still up reading a book and I hadn't noticed that he was already asleep next to me. Suddenly he bursts out, "Will you just give me the ducking yogurt already, Shannon?" in a flawless British accent and scares the it out of me. We are both German and none of our first languages include English. We didn't know a Shannon and he's lactose intolerant. Sigh. My boyfriend either recites postcodes, delivery driver, or calls the dog in his sleep. So either he is mad no one is responding to his postcode nonsense, or I get a flying 30-kilogram dog to my body. I'd like to imagine that he wakes up and calls the dog just to duck with you. My aunt likes to tell the story about her and my cousin sharing a hotel room one time. My aunt woke up having to pee and found my cousin sitting up in bed with her arms folded across her abdomen, kind of rocking back and forth and giggling quietly. When my aunt asked her what she was doing, my cousin said, "I'm holding a baby and it has an adult smile." I found this story deeply unsettling. Get the holy water. So this one time, while my significant other was sleeping, she randomly reaches over and starts to pet my leg softly. When I ask her what she's doing, she looks at me like I'm stupid and says, "What does it look like?" I'm petting this fluffy baby penguin, then pauses for a second, pats my leg again and blurts out, "Wait, this isn't a penguin." I have never laughed so hard over someone talking in their sleep. Edit. Thanks for the awards, kind strangers. My wife started screaming one night that she was lost in the local grocery store and that no matter where she went she couldn't find her way out. I asked her how she tried checking out at the cash registers. She then looked at me and said in her most sincere voice, "That's why you are the smartest person I know," and she rolled over and fell back asleep. I was watching TV once when my sister came out of her room and shoved her pillow in a kitchen drawer. After that she crossed the living room, opened the front door and said, "They're almost here." She closed the door and went back to her room. It was my first experience with sleepwalking and scared the completed out of me. As far as I'm aware, that is the only incident she has ever had. My grandfather was a hard sleep talker. My grandmother has a funny story. One day my grandfather, while sleeping, was saying, "Do I punch this asshole?" My grandmother replied, "Yeah, punch him." Then my grandfather in his sleep punched her. I woke up one night when my husband started flailing around in the bed. It shocked me and I shouted, "What's wrong?" Then he punched me in the face. I yelled out and started crying. Then he woke up and shouted, "What's wrong?" He dreamed he was being chased and then turned around and punched them. My mum, who is in her 80s, often falls asleep in her chair while I'm visiting her. She sleep eats. Not real food, but she goes through the motions of holding a plate and bringing food to her mouth. It's hilarious watching her. I asked her once if it was nice, and she said yes, it's very tasty. Edit to thank folks for the awards. My wife was mumbling a lot and suddenly shouted "donkey kick" as she kicked me in my shin, so that was fun. Napping with the boyfriend. A loud noise wakes me, but he's still out. Me, what was that? Him, either a tree or a magic eraser. Mr. Clean hiding in your closet looking real nervous after that. I've been told that, as a child, my father would regularly sleepwalk into his dad's bedroom and urinate in his work shoes. I once did that to my sister as a kid. I slept in a different place than I normally was. When she woke up, because of what I was doing, she found me in her closet, pissing on her shoes. She yelled my name, and for me to stop, I yelled back something like, "Shut up, get out of here." She then yelled that I was in her closet, pissing on her expensive shoes. I finally came to and freaked out, clamped it off, and ran to the bathroom. Icing on the cake. Her then boyfriend, now husband, said she could probably just rinse them out. I apparently filled both shoes. There was no rinsing. The story gets brought up at every family gathering. I have had funnier experiences than this one, but cannot remember exactly what was said. Most recently though, my boyfriend scoots over to meet a big spoon little spoon, and I snuggle in, thinking that's all it was. Then he gets real close to my ear and whispers, "Just so you know, there's something in the closet." Like a cartoon turtle. I did my best not to bust out laughing and just said, "Okay honey." When he woke up, he had no memory of it whatsoever, of course. When I was a child about 5 years old, I was sleeping in my parents' bed for some reason, probably a storm. Mom was awake, dad and I were asleep. Suddenly my father and I have this cross sleep conversation, while my mom lays between us, quietly freaked out. "Dad, you better not take my toys," I mutter angrily. "Okay, I won't." My father responds, "Don't even touch them." Okay. Not particularly scintillating conversation, but notable for the fact that we are both asleep and still responding to each other. It was like making Alexa and Siri talk to each other lol. Oh man, not my partner, but my brother. I was watching The Exorcist with my dad and my brother, and at the beginning of the movie, some archaeologists find a little statue that releases a devil or something. Anyway, we finish the movie, and my brother falls asleep on the other couch, so my dad and I just watch another movie. The second that movie ended, my brother sat bolt upright and walked to the middle of the room asking, "Where's the statue?" And we are like, "What statue?" And he's going, "The statue, the statue." Eventually he makes a motion with his hands, like he's picking something up, moves it over about a foot, and then puts this imaginary statue back down. He went right back to sleep again after. My dad and I just looked at each other like, "Oh, what the duck just happened?" But we got a great laugh out of it. My boyfriend once blurted out, "You're putting bread in my ears," in his sleep, mumbled something unintelligible, and then followed up with, "And I'm becoming a sandwich." Still makes me laugh whenever I remember. Not a partner, but in military training and school I often took the night shift for guard duty. The amount of sleepwalkers and talkers is way fucking higher than I expected. It is straight creepy when you have to walk down the halls with a covered flashlight listening to big ass grown men mumbling and lashing out in their sleep. What takes the cake though is often sleepwalkers will just kind of stop randomly. So you'll be walking along in the pitch black darkness and suddenly there is just a ducking dude standing there. Eyes generally closed, or worse, open, just kind of listening to the side, or leaning against a bedpost or wall. After I'd suppress all the swear words I was about to yell out, nothing much to do, but kinda prod them along back to their bed. For all the randomness that is being part of the military, I really didn't expect one of my jobs to be gently tucking my fellow soldiers back into their beds. We were freshly married and living overseas. My husband hadn't had much sleep the nights before, which usually enhances any sleep talking. It was hot in our room. My husband mumbled something which I didn't quite catch. I asked him to repeat it. He got up, opened the bedroom window, and said very pointedly, "Airflow bitch," then laid back down, completely asleep. Now, my husband has never, not once, ever called me a name or even raised his voice to me, so this is particularly hilarious. I talk in my sleep. My boyfriend said one time I started talking gibberish about snails while staring right at him, waiting for him to answer. When he replied, "I agree," I patted him on the head and called him a good boy. When my girlfriend and I started dating, she told me that she's been told she talks in her sleep from time to time and unfortunately has nightmares fairly often. One of the first nights we spent together, she wakes up at 2 AM and sits up super fast. It wakes me up, and I look over, only to hear her quickly say, "Pizza, order a pizza," then lie back down and start snoring within a minute. God, I love that woman laughing my ass off. Not my partner, but my mom. She talks and moves a lot during the night. Last week she started running while laying down. Yes, just like dogs do. And also screaming, "Get out of the way, get out of the way." I woke up in the other room to the sound of my dad first wondering what the duck was going on, and then laughing his ass off when he was telling me what had just happened. I'm the sleep talker. A long while back my fiancée was working a job where she didn't get home until after midnight. She came home one night and was leaning over the table on my side of the bed. She swears up and down that I looked up at her, smacked her on top of the head, and when she asked what the hell, that I told her I was checking to see if she was a ghost. Now, I do remember having a dream like this, but in my dream my hand did go through her head, proving she was a ghost. I worked with my girlfriend at McDonald's. She's woken up asking me to drop some more fries. Tells me we are out of apple pies, so don't ring them up. Make sure the sign light is on. You name it. She'll sit up for this sometimes. Never seen her walk. I usually just say yes ma'am, will do, because she's the boss. And she goes right back to sleep. Doesn't remember a thing in the morning. Price of being ground to the bone at that place. I have dreams about it myself. I don't think I sleep talk though. My ex-girlfriend woke me up from a dead sleep and says to me, "No trucks please. Subcompact cars only please." Upon waking I related this to her and she says to me, "What the deck is a subcompact car?" I was out on the deck sharing a drink with a friend one night. Significant other walked out of the house, down the stairs, got in the driver's seat of our car, sat there for about 5 minutes going through coin trays, glover box, etc. Then walked back upstairs and into the house. And you didn't run towards them to save their lives in case they decided to sleep drive? Oh, I definitely had the keys with me. That would have been insane to see a sleepwalker driving. I bet it's possible. If they can walk and talk, then I'm sure they can drive. My husband once randomly blurted out, "Bread for the ducks," and just got up out of bed and went downstairs before curling back up on the sofa. He woke up so confused the next morning. He was convinced we'd had an argument he'd forgotten. This actually happened last night. My fiancée started talking to me like we had never met before, and after a minute I realized that she was dreaming about our first date. It was really wholesome, and I was surprised at how much detail she remembers. This is the sweetest comment on this thread. Do you have a partner who is a sleep talker or sleepwalker and have a great story to tell about it? Let us know in the comments below. And please be sure to like and subscribe for more.